Those early travelers heading west on the Silk Road were setting off on the worst voyage imaginable, through some of the most terrible places on Earth. Starting with the world's tallest sand dunes. Strong winds whipping in from the west blow the sand into ever higher dunes. Over millennia, mega dunes build up, walls of sand soaring to over 500 meters tall. Camels are the only beasts of burden that can tackle these monstrous dunes. Their feet are wide and splay outwards to stop them sinking in loose sand. The wind that whips the sand into dunes has created other bizarre shapes in China's western deserts. Mysterious giant structures, known as yadangs, were sculpted by flying sand. The wind brought other hazards to travelers in these deserts. Marco Polo wrote, "Sometimes the stray travelers will hear the tramp and hum of a great cavalcade of people away from the real line of march, and taking this to be their own company, they will follow the sound. And when day breaks, they find that a cheat has been put on them, and that they are in an ill plight." To this day, no one knows what causes the sands in some parts of the desert to sing. No wonder travelers call this place Fury of God and Sea of Death. But the most severe problem was lack of water. The reason this place is so intensely dry can best be appreciated from a satellite view. China's deserts are the farthest place on Earth from any ocean. This lack of water is what created the Taklamakan, an area the size of Germany covered in sand dunes through which the Silk Road traversed. This is the world's largest shifting sand desert. Most living creatures would die here, but the camel is uniquely equipped for desert survival. Its nose humidifies the dry desert air as it breathes in, then dehumidifies it on the way out, conserving precious water. The camel's thick fur keeps it warm at night while reflecting sunlight by day, and its body temperature can rise by 6 degrees Celsius before it even begins to sweat. With these adaptations, it can go for days without drinking. For the camel trains, travel through the desert is about moving between one life-saving oasis and the next. When they finally do reach a drinking hole, camels can drink up to 60 liters of water in 10 minutes. Without oases, life in the Taklamakan couldn't exist, and travel would be impossible. But nothing is permanent in the desert. The shifting sands and the extreme climate mean that these precious water sources can disappear. This is exactly what happened at Aydingkol Lake. The lake bed is the second lowest place on Earth, at 154 meters below sea level. It's the hottest place in China, with air temperatures recorded as high as 50 degrees Celsius and ground temperatures up to 80 degrees. Yet not far from Aydingkol is a surprise. A thriving human settlement in the desert. This is Turpan Oasis. And it's famous in China for an unexpected product. Grapes. But how on earth can a water-hungry crop grow in such abundance in a desert? The secret lies below ground. A subterranean network of canals known as carrés is used to channel water around Turpan's streets and into the vineyards. But where does the water come from? The clue lies on the desert floor, in these lines of holes which mark the course of the subterranean waterways. Over 2 millennia ago, local people carved more than 3,000 kilometers of these canals beneath the desert, diverting water from the distant mountains. Channeling the flow underground means that less water is lost to evaporation in the desert heat. In August, the grapes are harvested. This rich bounty does not go unnoticed. In the lush vineyards of Turpan, one animal is thriving. Red-tailed gerbils are hardy desert creatures, but those in Turpan have never had it so good. Once the grapes have been picked, some are sold in the market, but most are hung up to dry in special drying houses. This place is far too tempting for any rodent to resist. Red-tailed gerbils are excellent climbers. But why bother when there's plenty of bounty lying around on the ground, unguarded? Rather than suffering the extreme environment in which they live, the wildlife and people of Turpan have found innovative ways to cope with conditions beyond the wall. But not all desert communities were as resourceful as Turpan. Between here and China's western borders lie the ruins of many great cities. In their day, they were vibrant, thriving places. But in the 5th century, the Silk Road's fortunes took a turn for the worse. Once again, a princess was involved. She smuggled silkworm eggs out of China. The secret of silk was a secret no more, and China's stranglehold on this lucrative trade was over. Even when Marco Polo passed along the Silk Road in the 13th century, many of these cities had been dead for over 500 years. But the Silk Road's most famous city managed to survive. Where the desert ends beneath vast mountain ranges, China's westernmost point is only a stone's throw from the borders of 5 Central Asian countries. This is Kashgar, where east meets west. The silk that traveled along the Silk Road ended up here, where it's still traded today.